Ego or higher self after the dark night of the soul. The dark night of the soul serves as a moment of solemness and spiritual awakening. It is a spiritual journey that helps one observe their past lives and learn what they can from them to develop into better beings. Since it's a spiritual journey, it often works with any physical event to get itself triggered. Hence, many things can land you in the dark night of the soul. In essence, such triggers may range from a minor unexpected event to a significant one. This trigger is in line with the cosmic plan. Once it's time to correct your path and get you back on track with what you're doing, it kicks off. That's why some can't remember the trigger. They only remember that they're in a dark era, but can hardly say why. So, if someone lives their life in a very mundane way and neglects their spiritual aspect of reality, they're likely to find themselves in this dark phase. Most times when this dark era sparks, the victim grows very quiet and withdrawn from most of the activities they usually enjoy doing. Even with the efforts of that person's loved ones to get that person to feel good or socialize, it often won't work. Because even among everyone there, they'll still feel lonely, and the loneliness draws them in from within. Hence, external, outdoor activities won't likely be beneficial, unless they can blend themselves into the plans the universe has for them, or learn their proposed lessons from the universe. They're likely not to get themselves out of the dark night of the soul. So, this dark night is an essential guide to oneself and one's spirituality. So it's vital to know the expected outcome of this life-changing event, whether it develops your ego or helps you attain higher self. Thus, it poses the question of what ego and higher self are.
Hey, welcome to Psych, Simplified. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for more videos.
Ego. According to psychotherapist Annette Nunez, PhD, LMFT, the ego is a sense of self that you develop at a young age. And as Shannon Kaiser, spiritual authority of the forthcoming book Return to You, adds, the ego relates to your feelings about your importance and abilities. It's how you identify and what you identify with, like who you are as a person, whether it's gender identity or your beliefs and morals, Nunez explains. She notes that famed psychoanalyst Sigmund Freud was the first to popularize the idea of ego in the modern world. In psychoanalytic theory, it's defined as the part of the mind that mediates between the conscious and the unconscious, and is responsible for reality testing and a sense of personal identity. Without getting too caught up in the psychological aspects, you can understand ego as the particular view you have about yourself over the years. It usually comes with a sense of achievement and all other things you've done to reach the level you've dreamed for yourself. Hence, ego is a universal trait that everyone possesses. Concerning the dark night of the soul, as we said before, the phase takes you through a spiritual journey, which will lighten and educate you so much before you're done with it. And one of the lessons that can be included is how to tame your ego. Because if you get too materialistic and further blinded by ego, you might make several mistakes that will cost you a lot. Hence, the dark night of the soul is likely to teach you what you should know about ego, at least for your safety. But in contrast, it's an ironic situation. If you're to compile a list of all your achievements to identify with yourself, ego, surviving the dark night of the soul would be in the curriculum. Hence, it can make you egotistic too. Higher self. According to Wikipedia, the higher self is associated with multiple belief systems. Still, its basic premise describes an eternal, omnipotent, conscious, and intelligent being who's one's authentic self. Blavatsky formally defined the higher self as Atma, the inseparable ray of the universe in oneself. It's the God above, more than within us. Every individual has a higher self. Hence, the higher self is more like an apex state of mind. It can be regarded as a level of consciousness that a person can obtain by being one with the universe. Some would describe it as one's true self, and it's often the true aim of the dark night of the soul. Because once you attain this level of consciousness, you'll be unified with the universe, and you'll notice your life flowing more comfortably, with lesser mundane activities distracting or disturbing you. So it's a lovely zone to attain to. But the fact that it's the goal of the dark night of the soul, and the dark night of the soul is a spiritual journey that taps into people's lamed consciousness, doesn't mean that some people won't forget what they learned and their personality won't take over. It can, and it happens most times, depending on one's personality. Someone narcissistic is likely to forget his lessons from the dark night of the soul. They might further add conquering the dark night of the soul to the list of their achievements. Or maybe they can scout for others that are in the dark night of the soul and manipulate victim situations for their ego. That's how ego comes in. For such people, they're likely to face the night of the soul many times. Each one has a specific lesson to teach them or something to change their minds about. It might be about taming their ego or other new lessons the universe finds necessary for their lives. So if they further adapt and learn how to manage their ego, they will slowly attain a higher self. But if otherwise, they might be stuck in an endless loop of the dark night of the soul. And for those that are likely to learn from their first lesson, will likely attain their higher self chronically. So what you'll attain from the dark night of the soul is a question of personality and how seriously you take your lessons. Because it is possible to reach a welcoming higher self that'll be graciously helpful to society, or an egoistic person who will feel more self-centered and want to take credit for every little thing. And for you that's currently in the dark night of the souls, don't get frightened of what will emerge when you're done with your spiritual baking. You are only to trust the process and let the dark night's solemnity take the stronghold of you. Also, try to understand that which was meant for you to learn, so you won't lose it in your lifetime. Especially when faced with a crooked situation, you'll likely attain a higher self and degrade your ego if you can do this. Hence, what you'll achieve also depends on how seriously you take your lessons from the dark night and make them part of your life. Because if you don't, a well-developed ego is around the corner.
Don't forget to subscribe and click on the bell icon to be notified of subsequent updates. Thanks for watching!